Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Dr. Mildred Jefferson's Vital Concerns. With me today are two very wonderful people from the Archdiocese of Boston's Office of the Deaf Apostolate, Father Jeremy St.Martin, and our interpreter today, Celia Mojica. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Before we begin, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, Father?
My name is Father Jeremy St. Martin, and my sign name is Father Jeremy. I'm a priest for the Archdiocese of Boston. I was ordained in 2002. I grew up in Fall River, Massachusetts. When I was 4, my family moved to Rhode Island, and we lived there. My first assignment as a priest was at St. Cecilia's Parish in Ashland, Massachusetts. And now, for the past 4 years, I'm a priest. I've been the priest for the deaf here at the Archdiocese of Boston.
Well, Celia, why don't you join in and tell us something about yourself?
My name is Celia Mojica. I'm a Northeastern University graduate from their ASL English Interpreting Program. I graduated in 2009. In the fall of 2009, I started working for the Archdiocese of Boston as a staff interpreter coordinator for the Deaf Apostolate.
Great. Okay, Father, I know that there is sign language used for various masses in the Archdiocese. What about other activities for the deaf?
We have many events for the deaf and with the deaf. There's a deaf man in the community named Bruce Bucci, and he helps us a great deal with the Deaf Religious Education Program. And Father Sean Carey, himself a deaf priest here in the Archdiocese, is also a teacher for the confirmation program for the deaf. And there's a wonderful woman who also works with us named Mary Brooks, and she runs the Senior Deaf Wellness Program. It's the first Tuesday of the month that program meets. We also have a World Youth Day group preparing to attend the World Youth Day this August in Madrid, Spain. And we're also involved with visiting families in their homes who perhaps have new children who are deaf. We also serve those in the hospitals who are deaf and need assistance or care. And we have outreach programs where we visit various parishes and celebrate masses. And we also have interpreters working with us, developing our needs in that sense. We also have a deaf adult religious education program every Monday evening.
So you help people of all ages.
Yes, we do.
About how many people are going to Madrid to World Youth Day from Boston?
Our group consists of about 28 individuals now. We have 2 professional trilingual interpreters working with us. They are proficient in English, Spanish, and American Sign Language. And the youth are very excited. Some of the youth Also included in our group are young adult leaders from various parishes. We have 3 women from Canada who are actually joining our group, 3 deaf women, and they have already been to World Youth Day and very good Catholic women, deaf, and they will be great leaders for our young people. And we have a few deaf people from California and as well as Boston, so we're really looking forward to that. And there's one young deaf man who is actually becoming blind. He has Usher's syndrome, so he's losing his vision, and he's really looking forward to being involved in that group. Really good young man.
I have a couple of questions about interpreting. How do you learn to be able to use sign language? Is it hard?
Yes, it's like learning any language, French, German, Spanish. It's just as learning any second language. It's a full language itself with a complete grammar and different ways of expressing itself. It's a very unique language. The diocese actually sent me to Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C., which is the deaf university. I went to 2 summer programs there, and I studied at the Learning Center for the Deaf in Framingham. I took evening classes there. And I had 2 deaf Catholic women tutor me every Friday to help me learn as well. And then, in addition to all of that, Father Sean Carey was a great teacher and taught me many things and helped me to master my interpreting skills as well.
Do you have to be a Catholic to interpret the Mass? No, not at all. You don't need to be Catholic. But it can help. I know very good interpreters who are highly skilled, and they know the Catholic vocabulary and Catholic understanding and concepts. There's one woman named Neva. She's actually Jewish, but she's a phenomenal Catholic interpreter. It's very consider it similar to a musician in that they don't need to be Catholic to be able to express good music for a particular Mass. Naturally, there are some ways in that being Catholic might help. And there are some jobs where you may want an interpreter to have that same Catholic faith, but it's by no means required. As a member of the Knights of Columbus, Father, I noticed that you're wearing the emblem of a chaplain. Can you tell us a bit about that? Yes. This is the jewel to show that I'm a chaplain for the Knights of Columbus. I remember even before I became a priest, I was involved as a member of the Knights of Columbus in Roxbury. It was council number 1, 2, 3 I was involved in. And they were a great, encouraging, and supportive community as I was discerning my call to the priesthood. And they truly helped me. And as a group, we were able to help those in our community who were poor or perhaps needed other assistance. And later on, during my first assignment in Ashland, again, the Knights of Columbus were present in that community, and they were such a tremendous help to me as a young priest. And then yet again, as I'm working with the deaf community, the Crocher Council in Newton has been such an amazing support system. A man there,
Father Sean Carey is a member of that council as well. And soon we will be welcoming 2 new members, both of them young Catholic fathers. Both of them are deaf, and they will become members of our council. The council's very excited. It's such a beautiful and deaf-friendly council, and we're very excited for that new addition.
Now, can you tell us a bit about the deaf community and their involvement in the pro-life movement, especially in the Archdiocese?
Yes, it's very exciting, actually. Recently, many of our young people went to the Cathedral of the Holy Cross in Boston, for we had the annual March for Life happening. We had a special mass at the cathedral, and many of the young deaf in attendance joined all of the youth from Boston for this beautiful mass at the cathedral. And we made these great signs to hold as we marched through the streets of Boston to show our want to protect the innocent lives, those who are vulnerable, those who are unborn, and help the mothers who perhaps might find themselves in a crisis situation, and the fathers as well. Young deaf, and deaf in general, know a great deal about eugenics. And this is because the deaf community in America has a history with eugenics. There was a eugenics law set up early in the 1900s saying that it was illegal for deaf people to marry. It was clearly not a fair law. Anyways, it really hurt the deaf community. And in the Catholic Church, in canon law, the Church states that deaf people can marry, they can share those promises of marriage through the expression using sign language. And that is not new for canon law. There was a Council of Orange that happened in France long ago, and it was put in canon law at that time that deaf people could marry using sign language, making their promises.
I'd like to remind you that you can call Massachusetts Citizens for Life at 617-242-4199. 617-242-4199 if you have any questions. But we would also ask Father if he could give us a telephone number and maybe a website for the Archdiocese of Boston. So any person, they don't have to be deaf, but deaf as well as people with hearing might get more information, especially about the deaf apostolate.
I have a number for text messaging. If a deaf person would like to text me, you can do that. It is a 617 number, 997-8025. 8025. Again, it's 617-997-8025. And you can always check www.deafcatholic.org That's deafcatholic.org. If you were to visit that website, you'll see on the left side a link to our calendar where you will find information about the masses we offer in ASL, where the deaf will have access, direct access, that is. And there is always a Sunday Mass at Sacred Heart in Newton at 10:30. Every Sunday, celebrated entirely in ASL with a voice interpreter. So it's interpreted into English. And we have deaf people serving during that Mass and deaf people reading. So it's really it's a good one.
If a pastor of any church would like you to say Mass at the church and have it interpreted for the deaf in the community, what's the best way for them to arrange that?
The best thing to do is have Father Sean, who is a new priest for the Archdiocese. He was born deaf, and he's truly a wonderful man. And he's a terrific role model for other deaf people. And he's a great way to show all people in the church that the church loves all people from whatever culture and whatever language background. A non-deaf person seeing a deaf person proclaim the gospel in sign language for the first time is really a great moment. So it's a good idea to email Father Sean Carey about that, and you can find his email address at the website. And it's also FR Shawn, SHAWN, at deafcatholic.org. And you can email him directly. And once a month now, we have time for outreach masses such as that. And those are happening regularly. Some pastors might have deaf people in their parish, and a pastor trying to help them might ask Father Sean to come and celebrate Mass or interpret. And it's really a great experience for parents of deaf children. There are many times when, in a given situation, people might not be quite sure what to do, and it's really a great opportunity to have Father Sean present and visit a situation. And a family is able to see what a great success, a successful deaf person, and realize that their children have a bright future ahead.
Most people have heard about the telephone system TDY, but in addition, there is a service where a deaf person would be able to converse with somebody on the other line with the help of an interpreter. Want to tell us a bit about that?
Yes. Long ago, many deaf people used TTYs. I believe you said TDY, but it's TTY.
Yeah.
And that was good at the time, but now more and more deaf people are able to use text messaging. But what is very important for the deaf community, what you're speaking about, is a video phone, shortened to VP. And it allows deaf people, through a video service, to directly communicate with each other or anyone who knows sign language. And if a deaf person wanted to converse with someone who did not know sign language, there's a service that they would call, and it would connect them to an interpreter, which would allow them to call a hearing individual. So it's a relay service for interpreting. So they would be able to have a conversation much like we are remotely. So if you ever answer a phone call and hear someone say, "Hello, I'm interpreter number 123, don't hang up. Some people hear that and misunderstand it. They might perhaps think it's a company trying to sell them something and they hang up right away. But really what it is a deaf person trying to call you. And it's the interpreter stating that it's an interpreted conversation. So just be patient until you become used to the experience, and it's quite successful actually.
We have a few minutes left in the program, and maybe you would want to talk about something that we haven't approached. So do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yes, I grew up in a very pro-life family. My parents were quite focused on that issue. We would try to help women in situations before they enter, as they approached a clinic every Saturday rather, my family would go and try to counsel women who were making this decision. My parents were never mean or rude to these women. And some women were happy to see this last-minute source of help. Some women didn't actually want to go through with it, and they were desperate for help. And they were interested in the options that were available, and my parents were able to help them. And it was really a beautiful thing to be involved in and to witness. And my parents were always very caring to people in general. They were such a great model. My father used to teach in a public school for seriously mentally and physically handicapped children. And he was clearly did not become rich. And the school system from this work and the school system that he worked in was a very poor system. And at times on the weekends, we would actually, wanting to give the parents of these children a break of some kind, we would take care of these children. It was really a beautiful experience. I know that some people say, oh, pro-life people are always focused on that one issue of abortion. But really, pro-life people have strong common sense. And naturally, we want to focus on that issue because it's very important. But that also helps us to be serious about other life issues. And it's important to help people in general. Myself, as well as the Knights of Columbus, are focused on protecting life before birth, but that's not our only concern. We're also concerned on life issues in general. Myself and Father Sean have seen the Knights of Columbus help us in many ways. Many parents with deaf children tell me the same story again and again, that someone may approach them and say, oh, your child is deaf. That's such a terrible thing. I bet you probably wish you knew that before your child was born. Meaning, they wish they had had an abortion and killed their child. And that's not okay. It's a serious issue, but God has mercy on us all, right?
Yes. We'd like to thank our special guests, Father Jeremy St. Martin and Celia Mohiga, for joining us today. This is Connie Murphy. Join us next time for Dr. Mildred Jefferson's vital concerns.